real reason why many black men lack self-control. In this video, I'm going to go into a step-by-step guide on gaining self-control and also breaking down why many lack self-control. And this is very important because having a lack of self-control can make it easier for you to end up in trouble and harder for you to gain success in life. So understanding these principles can really help you to get ahead. If you know that you lack self-control, you definitely should watch this video. If you feel like you have self-control, well, this video can help you to gain more self-control. Very important for you to watch this video and learn, take notes and learn from what is being said. Number one, the first thing you should do to help you to gain emotional and self-control is to stop and analyze the situation. Pause and analyze the situation. Take into account the pros and cons of this situation. Does it make sense for me to react in this way? Will it lead to a better result ultimately, or will it lead to a more negative result ultimately? This is part of being constructive. When you take into the account of whether there's enough pros to outweigh the cons, most of these situations you get into, if not all, these emotional situations that you get into, you'll realize that they do not make sense. Understanding that will help you to navigate these situations more smoothly. Pause, stop, analyze the pros and cons. Does it make sense for me to go further with this situation? Or should I just let it go? Will that lead to a better result? Because many times you think that it's a benefit in the moment because you're full of emotions, but really it's only a short-term instant gratification benefit that leads to longer problems. For example, you see a woman that you like, she looks good to you, but you know that she's not a wife. You know that she's not fit to be a mother or a wife. So you sleep with her, and then you don't only sleep with her, but when that time comes, you actually do not pull out. Now you have 18 plus years of hell and torment because of 1 minute of pleasure. You understand? You have 18 plus years of hell and torment, and maybe more, for 1 moment of pleasure because you did not stop, pause, and analyze the pros and cons. Same thing if you get into a fight. Let's say you're playing a basketball game or sports or anything that you're doing, and you get into a fight. Does this make sense? Is this going to benefit me? Yes, okay, you knocked out the individual. Cool, you did that. Now, this person wants revenge. This is going to lead to what? More and more problems. So you have to stop, pause, and analyze the situation. Always defend yourself, but understand having self-control, and not initiating more problems for yourself is the best course of action. So pause, stop, and analyze the pros and cons of the situation. Number 2 is practicing to have discipline. Practicing to have discipline. That means be conscious of a situation when it arises and be conscious of how you act in that situation. Slow down, like we said for the first part, and then practice to de-escalate or not engage into a situation that's going to leave you worse off. Constantly practice that, at least for 30 days, and you'll see that you'll be building a callus or emotional strength for those situations, and that's going to cause you to be better off in the long run. There's a reason why I teach these kind of things on this channel, because I understand how beneficial it can be. So that's the second thing. Practice. Actually put it into practice and play in real life, because there's always going to be situations that test your patience. That is life. But it's how you deal with the situation that's important. You're not the only one being tested. You're not the only one that's going through situations. Absolutely not. There's some days where I feel like everybody is working together to test my nerves. But I have to what? I have to pause, I have to stop, I have to analyze the situation, and I have to continue to practice self-control and self-discipline. That's what makes you strong. As a matter of fact, I did a lesson on true strength being self-control. So you can go ahead and watch that video. Number 3 is stress, overload, and bad diet. I put that all into one: stress, overload, and bad diet, because it all leads to the same thing. As they say, pressure busts pipes. So when you're under heavy stress, when you're under heavy overload, when you're eating a terrible diet, such is the customs of the projects, the ghetto, the hood, the barrio, these different islands that we may come from, right? A lot of the time, the environment is a very stressful environment. Not only is it stressful, right? You're in poverty, the family situation. You may have just been growing up with a single mother, and then you see her behaving off of emotions, and then you copy and do the same thing when there's no balance of logic or masculine energy in the house, because the father is not there for whatever reason, whether he was kicked out, whether he was stopped from seeing his child, whether he didn't want to be there, whatever the case may be, doesn't matter. This is the situation that you're now in. That all leads to cortisol. It all leads to stress. And then on top of that, you have this terrible diet. When you go to these projects in these ghettos, especially, the projects in the ghettos, I'll say in America especially, and this is why America is so bad, is you have what? You have fast food joints, you have liquor store joints, you have all these different things that are bad for your health. You don't see Whole Foods in the hood. Okay, you don't see things like that. You don't see salad stores and things like that. And on top of that, it probably wouldn't do well because they're so accustomed to eating that garbage, which further leads to what? It leads to stress. It leads to anger. I notice my emotional state is different when I eat better, when I'm on a vegetarian diet, when I'm on a diet, a paleo diet. These things are important. These things are very significant in why you behave the way you behave. And on top of that, you should be exercising, because that also releases stress. Exercising, stretching, different things like that. Listening to good music. That music, I keep saying it, is very detrimental. If you're listening to this trap music, this drill music constantly, this gangster rap constantly, it puts a negative vibration on you. That's what it does. That's what it's there for. So you have a vibration of impulsiveness through that music, through the 808 snares and so on and so forth. And there's been musicians that came out and actually explained that. Excuse me. Number 4, focusing on things that are outside of your control. You cannot control what people think about you. You can't control what people do. So focusing on those things too much will lead to frustration. And then you try to do something to manipulate those things, and it just leads to a negative result. The best thing is to understand that you have no control over certain situations. No matter what, there's always going to be people that don't like you. No matter what, there's always going to be people that think you're weak. Mike Tyson had people that thought he was weak. Even though he was the world champ, there were certain people that thought he was weak. That's why he got into fights outside of the ring, even though he was the champion. He actually got into fights and altercations outside of the ring with people who tried him, because there's always going to be someone to try you. There's always going to be someone to think that you're weak or weaker than them. There's always going to be someone that thinks you're not good enough, or whatever the case may be, whatever may be in your mind. You can't control that. You can only control yourself. And understanding yourself and understanding what the truth is, that is something that can actually help you to navigate those situations. But you have to be secure in that. and knowing the truth about yourself. And that way the outside forces, they don't affect you. All right. So those are 4 different things, 4 different steps to gaining self-control. It's very important to put these things into play, to do your best to practice these things. I would say for at least 30 days, because after 30 days is when you gain habits, so that you can have a better result in life. And that could be tied to any situation. I gave you a few situations, but this can be tied to any situation that you're going through, whether it be financial, whether it be relationship, whether it be at work, whatever the case may be. So with that, this is Gradually Rich, and I'm out.